I have lived alone and away from people for so long that I barely remember my last name. Not really, but I have lived alone for a very long time. I love my solitude, and living on the river is perfect for me. I watch the sunrise and sunset every day, rain or shine. I'm in tune with nature. I see the stars when they're out, the moon too. I watch clouds as they traverse the skies above my sailboat. I feel the wind and rain, the sun on my face, and the rocking of my boat, gently most days, but violently on some. My home is a 42-foot ketch-rigged motor sailor that's anchored along the eastern coast of Florida. There's a causeway just to the south that provides some protection from waves and weather from that direction. If the weather's expected to change, I can use a motor to move my boat to the other side of the causeway. People stop along the causeway to capture an image of my boat, Emmeline. She's a beautiful boat, proud and tall, with the patina that comes with age. She's lived well and has the scars to prove it. Emmeline is probably more beautiful now than she was when she was first launched almost 50 years ago. Sleeping on Emmeline took some getting used to. When I first bought her, the waves lapping at the hull at night kept me awake. Now I can't go to sleep without the lullaby of the water. Lap, lap, lap. During most nights, the waves gradually die down so that the water in the morning is smooth and more like a mirror than a pane of glass. I enjoy seeing the reflections of clouds and shorebirds in the early morning water. This morning I was awakened from a very nice dream by my neighbor, Hip Hop, who lives on another boat in Anchorage. He was already on the deck of my boat when I first heard him. "Hey, Jim, are you up?" Then he said it even louder. "Hey, Jim." "I'm coming. Wait a damn minute." I pulled my pants on and opened the hatch the rest of the way. Hip Hop was standing there looking down into my boat. "What is important enough to wake me up from a nice dream? From a really nice dream?" I scowled at him. "The call went out this morning that a hurricane is bearing down on us. Prepare to evacuate," it said. "Turn your radio on," Hip Hop pleaded. "Evacuate? I ain't got anywhere to go, so I guess I'll stay put, come what may." Hip Hop had excitement in his voice as he answered. "I stayed last time, and I'll never stay on my boat again. You remember, don't you?" "I remember, but I still don't have anywhere to go and don't have a way to get there either. I don't want to leave Emmeline to be ravaged by a storm." My boat's named after my first love, Emmeline, the one who got away because I was too stupid in my youth. "I'm going to the mission on 5th Street, Hip Hop said. "It's concrete block. They have good cots and warm food. It'll be a good place to weather the storm. Come with me." "You want a coffee before you go?" I asked as he slid over the rail and back into his dinghy. I guess he was in a hurry because he was gone in no time at all. I prepared my coffee over an open flame and took my time drinking it, just like I always do. A hurricane bearing down sounds urgent, but I decided a long time ago that I would be deliberate in everything I do. Getting in a hurry has never led to a better outcome than I would have had if I'd taken my time. Slow and deliberate is the way I do things now. Boat life fits me. During the rest of the morning, I checked and double-checked the anchor. I even added a second anchor as a precaution. I checked every line on the boat and made every hatch secure. The hatch directly over the table in the galley has been troublesome since the day I bought the boat. It leaks when it rains, but it hasn't been bad enough to do much about it. Right now, I wish I'd taken care of it. I cut a patch from a plastic trash bag and taped it over the hatch with duct tape. It's not good, but duct tape will hold anything. After seeing my handiwork, I decided to do the same thing for every hatch and every porthole. The job took about an hour to complete. I had to get into my dinghy to do the portholes. Once back on the deck, I went inside to check my work from that angle. The darkness in the cabin surprised me. I just hadn't realized how much light came in through all the openings around the boat. Next, I secured the sails to make sure they couldn't get loose and flap around in the wind. The sails were little more than rags, but I still needed to secure them. I wrapped many turns of line around the boom of each mast, binding the sail remnants tightly to the spars. Then I secured each boom into position on top of the cabin. As Hip Hop had said, I kept the radio on all day for weather alerts. The warnings became more demanding with each passing hour. The storm is 36 hours out now. The wind is blustery and the waves are erratic, rocking my boat as I keep an eye on the eastern sky. That afternoon, before the storm's expected arrival the next morning, I climbed into my dinghy and began rowing toward the causeway, a little more than 200 feet away. My outboard won't start anymore, but I haven't really missed it until now. The wind and waves made rowing harder. Usually, rowing to the causeway and back to Abilene a few times a week isn't a hardship. I've known hardship all my life, and rowing a dinghy a few hundred feet twice a week certainly is not hardship. Once on the causeway, I walked half a mile to the nearest grocery store. The shelves had been stripped bare of bottled water and toilet paper. I didn't mind because I was looking for canned goods, beans mostly. I'm a country boy and grew up eating just about any kind of bean. I like bread too, but it won't last long before mold turns it gray and then black. I always skip the bread unless I plan to eat it as soon as I get back on the boat. I like nuts. They last a long time. Experience as a full-time sailor for the past several years has taught me what foods to buy and what to pass up. Once back on Abilene, I dragged my dinghy up on deck, turned it upside down, and lashed it securely. It covered one of the hatches I was worried about. Next, I turned my attention to my solar panels. They're firmly attached to the top of the cabin between the masts. I tugged on each panel to make sure it was secure. Then I stepped across the threshold into the main cabin and looked at the gauges of the solar system. All 12 batteries showed a full charge. That was comforting because I knew the bilge pumps would have to depend on battery power. I have an old gas generator for the pumps too, but I won't be able to use it during the storm. Just as the sun was going down, Hip Hop paddled up in his dinghy. "I'm leaving now. Are you sure you don't want to go?" "Nah, I'm set." "Please, Jim, please come with me." I just shook my head as Hip Hop turned toward the causeway. I was ready as the sun went down, but I still felt a sense of apprehension. The waves were increasing, and strong bands of heavy rain swept across my boat. I dressed in rain gear and sat in the steering area topside, shielded to some degree from the driving rain and wind by the rear wall of the cabin. If I didn't know better, I would think I was in the middle of the ocean with a hurricane bearing down on me. The bow of the boat rose, tugging at the anchor line, before clearing a wave and crashing back down again, over and over, as the night sky darkened. I'm accustomed to the rhythmic movement of Abilene, but not to the violent motion I'm experiencing now. I'm getting seasick, and the storm hasn't even fully hit yet. Around 11 p.m., the streetlights of the causeway blinked once and then went out, leaving an ominous darkness. There were cop cars at each end of the bridge with their blue lights strobing a warning. Cars weren't allowed on the bridge any longer due to high winds. Authorities feared that vehicles could be blown off the bridge into the water. Right at midnight, the radio relayed a message from the sheriff. "If you live on a barrier island and chose not to evacuate, we're unable to offer any assistance until after the storm has passed. We can't dispatch officers, ambulances, or fire trucks, no matter how severe the need. It's simply too dangerous for our personnel to respond. May God be with you." Hearing that message was frightening, even though I could not imagine calling for help under any circumstances. The storm raged, then calmed slightly, then raged even stronger in the next cycle. I finally went below deck after realizing there was nothing for me to do topside. Wrapped in the warmest blanket I had, I lay on the settee in the galley with my head on a pillow against the bulkhead. Even with the boat heaving violently, I could still doze during the relatively calm periods between rain bands. By 2 a.m., the storm was at full force, throwing Abilene around like a piece of paper in the wind. I was bouncing around too, collecting innumerable bruises in the process. Other than that, all I could do was hang on to anything solid near me. After an especially big wave crashed across the deck, I felt the boat give up for just the slightest instant. She slipped backward as if trying to escape the ferocity of the onslaught. The next wave brought the same sensation, but Abilene slid longer this time. With every wave after that, she skipped farther backward until finally she stopped sliding and just rushed astern. As the great boat ran from the storm, the bow drifted sideways enough for the wind to hit her almost fully broadside. I was on my face on the galley floor without any knowledge of how I got there. Abilene was heeled over like she would be if she were under full sail on a breezy day. In this case, she was heeled over while being shoved sideways by a hurricane. How long can this last? I wondered. Will Emmeline finally succumb and sink her deck into the water ahead and take me with her? For some reason, I didn't feel terror. I felt excitement, but not fear. I guess I was accepting my destiny. Whatever is going to happen now, no matter what I do. All I can do is brace myself and hang on. With a hard thud and a sudden stop, Emmeline hit something solid. It must have been solid to have stopped her forward movement in front of the storm. Have we hit the bridge? Maybe the causeway? Another boat? A bigger boat, maybe? Emmeline was bouncing and bobbing as wave after wave struck her with full force. There was lots of creaking, scraping, and banging, but all forward movement had stopped. I had to see what I'd hit. Maybe I could do something to help my situation. Most likely I couldn't, but I had to know anyway. I made my way to the main hatch and released the catch. I slid the hatch open and stepped over the board onto the deck. As I did, the full force of the wind hit me in the face and chest. Just as I was about to go overboard on some big rocks, my right hand caught a grip on some of the lines I had wrapped around the boom. Those lines held and likely saved my life, at least for the moment. I stayed in the boat without going overboard to be crushed between Emmeline and the rocks of the seawall. I felt elation like I had never felt before. Did dumb luck save me? Or was it fate? Or even divine intervention? Whatever it was, I was grateful. While still holding the line with an iron grip, another wave hit. I stayed on Emmeline a second time. Even though I was near solid land, I could see no way to span the chasm between my position and where I wanted to be. There was no hope of escaping Emmeline. Before the next wave could hit, I released my grip on the line and stepped quickly below deck again. Once there, I slid the hatch closed, feeling relief when it latched successfully. I resumed my position on the settee and braced myself for the jolts that were sure to come. The fury of the storm went on throughout the night. In a strange way, the pounding of the waves on Emmeline became a kind of horrible monotony. The possibility of imminent death was with me, but I was calm in a way I'd never been before. The fury began to die down gradually as the sky shifted with the light of an unseen sun. Sunrise was finally here. I ventured on deck once again, thankful that the ordeal was nearing its end. This story is part of a collection of short stories titled Jaybird Luck and Other Stories, which is available on Amazon as an ebook or a paperback. Use this QR code to reach the website. This story was written and narrated by Don Wynn. Copyright 2026.